back to Justice League Infinity. Last issue was honestly my favorite thus far. Let's see if issue 5 can top it. This issue starts with John Jones talking about a being he only refers to as Oracle. Now, Oracle generally is Barbara Gordon, but John references Oracle as a he, not a she, meaning it's not Barbara. We cut to just the Alliance, along with the White Superman and Wonder Woman. Also, in order to make sure there's no confusion, I'll be calling Earth 1's Superman and Wonder Woman Clark and Diana, and I'll be calling Earth D's version of them Kal Nubia. Even though we get told this issue that her name isn't Nubia, but I can't pronounce her actual name. And her design is very obviously based off Nubia, so I'm just going to call her Nubia. Anyways, they find Diana on the Peril Earth's Apokolips after Darkseid gave his life to save Diana last issue. But before any friendly conversation can start, Diana tells Clark and Kal there's something she has to do. That's to honor Darkseid's sacrifice. As Diana might be a warrior, but she has compassion and is very honorable. Diana and Clark, along with the Justice Alliance, I keep on trying to call them Justice League of Alliance, they take off in a spaceship leaving Apokolips as Earth D's Martian Manhunter drives the ship with his Martian mind. Kind of like how Martian Manhunter is driving the ship with the Justice League last issue, or issue before that. It was one of those two. I think it was the issue before last issue. We also get confirmation that the Martian Manhunter narrating is actually Earth D's Martian Manhunter, not Earth 1's. We also get a brief mention of his origin. He was a criminal from Mars that was exiled to Earth, rather than being a sole survivor of Mars, or one of the sole survivors. It seems like there's multiple Martians still alive on Mars, but this character was exiled because he apparently did a crime. I'm not too sure what that crime was, because he's a superhero, so I'm curious what he did to get exiled from Mars. I don't think he would get exiled for just stealing something. Like, did he murder someone? If so, why is he on the Justice Alliance? I have some questions, but we will get into that afterwards. Diana tries to talk with Nubia, but she shoots her down, as Nubia's world, Themyscira, was destroyed thousands of years ago due to a civil war, and she was the sole survivor. Clark and Diana afterwards talk, and Clark says that she's lucky because the world he initially ended up in was the, Nazi one. Kal and Clark try to tell the story about what happened after Kal arrived on Earth X, as we never saw that, and we cut to what happened before they found Diana. The freedom fighters, that being Natasha, Irons, Metallo, Emil Hamilton, Doomsday, who has a clayish flesh type skin, and General Zod, who doesn't seem to have any powers. I don't know if they should trust Kal or not, as the very moment they're all having a bit of an argument, but eventually the group comes to an agreement in that they need to first take down the Nazi fascist turds, and then they need to save the multiverse. On their way to the battle, Kal and Clark start to bond by talking about the struggles of their worlds. Kal explains that he has a strong dislike for Nazis, since unlike the real world, Nazis seem to have been active up until the 90s. While in the real world, there are certainly Nazi sympathizers, but they're not actual Nazis, they're just pathetic racists. Clark and Kal then talk about the progress on each of their Earths, and it seems like Kal's Earth is most progressive between the two, most likely due to the fact that their Superman, who is their idol of hope, is a black man. They reach a Nazi castle and they bring the hell to it, taking on Nazi hoverboards, which I think is meant to be a reference to Intergang, to how they used to use apocalyptic technology and mix it with Earth technology like the Nazis are doing here. Also during this battle, Kal and Clark have a friendly banter about how Clark has heat vision while Kal doesn't for some reason. Also, in this fight, Natasha Irons is certainly holding her own. I just love seeing Metallo's green energy in this battle because it looks really cool. The fight is interrupted by green and purple drones that form into a big robot called Brainiac Prime, but with the help of Doomsday, the Superman dispatched Brainiac Prime very easily. In my opinion, not as climactic as I think it should have been, but, they have a certain amount of time and a certain amount of pages in these issues. Kal and Clark come crashing into the Nazi castle, looking for Vandal Savage. Superman and freedom fighters find their way into a room where they're ambushed by a group of robotic Vandal Savage clones. Or androids. They argue about what they are, but they don't reveal which one it is. Either way, the fight is just really wow. The panels showing Doomsday and Metallo look amazing with how they're fighting them with the green energy and how Doomsday is kind of just like so bulky. The artwork is just very beautiful, and you don't really see this a lot of times in comic books more aimed for a younger audience. And this issue, I would say, well, I would say the series itself isn't necessarily aimed at a younger audience, as the entire series is based off, certainly is, but this issue in particular, I would say, and the series in particular, I would say, is certainly not necessarily aimed at a younger audience, as we're about to get into it. Anyways, the team, after winning the fight with the robots, come in crashing into the throne room to find an elderly Vandal Savage who seems to be aware of the multiverse dying. And here's why I said this doesn't seem to be pointing towards a more younger audience. That is because when Zod confronts Savage, he stabs him in the heart, and we get to see Zod die. This also confirms what I said earlier about him not having any powers. I'm not too sure why it is Zod doesn't have powers, or even if he's Kryptonian in this, or I'm not too sure. Doomsday is prepared to avenge his leader by killing Vandal Savage, but Clark, being the Boy Scout he is, wouldn't let him, saying they need to honor Zod's wishes for Vandal Savage to stand trial. Meanwhile, afterwards, Metallo and Doomsday would keep an eye on Vandal Savage as Clark and Kal would search the castle, and they find the weird creature we saw at the start of the issue, aka the Oracle. And they let him free. It's a green ghoulish melting man that reminds me a lot of Clayface, but green. Supermen save this Oracle, and we're told that this is not actually a Martian, and they fly out together to see that the Freedom Fighters and Justice Alliance are now together. Nubia and Kal kiss in a sitcom dramatic fashion that makes Clark a bit uncomfortable, as Earth D Martian Manhunter tells us that this Oracle is actually Earth X version of Martian Manhunter after having been tortured by Vandal Savage. That is dark. That is very, very dark. I did not see that coming. Right before he commits psychic suicide, which is even darker, as on Earth X Martian Manhunter, not Earth D. We cut back to the present day of Clark and Diana, with Clark catching Diana up to speed on what has happened. And I feel like her reaction to it is not as, I think, strong as it should have been, because she seems like, oh, okay, but it's like, really? He just told you a story about Martians committing psychic suicide. Anyways, the comic ends with the team finding the Justice League spread out in the multiverse with no real explanation, as I'm assuming this will probably play into the next issue. Probably, I assume. Similar to how last issue ended on a cliffhanger and we had to go back to the past to see how that happened. So next issue, I think, is going to start with them finding the Justice League members scattered, and then we see how that happened. This issue focused a lot on the Superman. Both I found very heroic, but differently. With Clark being more of a fighter, while Kal seems to be more of a lover, and I liked seeing the dynamic, as neither of those are bad things, and it just shows how people can be good and be very different from each other. Diana honoring Darkseid's sacrifice, in my opinion, shows just while Diana is such a respectable warrior, she respects her opponents. And I think it really drives the idea why Diana is such a honorable person. Well, out of the Freedom Fighters and Justice Alliance, I think the standouts are Metallo, Martian Manhunter, and Nubia. Although I have to say I was a little disappointed in Zod's death, as it looked like they were trying to set up something with Zod the past couple issues, but instead he just died without really anything else. And that's it. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.